Hello. Yes, that's right. It is me, Trent Seven, all the way from Mustache Mountain with a little quick message for you. I think it's probable you should go onto the internet, go onto YouTube, and subscribe to Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
Well, we are live, pals, and welcome to another edition of the Bill Apter Seal of Approved. Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. My name is Tyler, and I'm with Mike. What a treat. We're back.
Woo! Hey, you want to talk about sex tips?
No, I don't. At all.
I want to start opening this show every week with just like the most inappropriate question I could possibly think to ask you.
No, you did that. You had a show called The Lasting Marks, and that was your guys' whole show, all right?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna pull the I'm gonna pull the curtain back here. Last week, by all means, was supposed to be a Lasting Mark reunion. I was gonna do that show with Danny, and I wrote that whole bit for me and Danny to do. And then Danny had to back out, and at the last minute, I was able to bring in Adam and Matt. Thank God. We had a great show together.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Love the show. It's one of my favorite shows I've ever done without you. It was such a fun fucking show we did last week. No regrets that Danny had to back out. But I had this bit written that would fit the Lasting Mark because we used to do cold opens for the Lasting Mark. You know, we would go straight in and then we would do our intro like fucking 5-10 minutes in. That was just our gimmick, right? I thought that was so fucking funny that I couldn't not use it. I did not expect it to go for 15 minutes.
Let me tell you, first of all, I got heat with you because why you wouldn't want to watch my sex tape. That was really offensive and hurtful.
You know why? You know why?
I got flip-flops and everything, but that's a whole different story. But no, I sex tape aside, which yes, 15 minutes. It was a very long time to talk about a sex tape. But once you guys actually got into the wrestling as well, it was a very enjoyable show.
We got an hour out of one topic, and that's not something that we do on this show because that's not our gimmick or anything like that. I wanted to do a wrestling show reunion, and the wrestling show was a news. It was a news show. We're not a news show. It was a news show, and what bigger news last week than CM Punk making his return to WWE? Yeah. So of course we had to make a full show out of it. I don't think we talked about anything but CM Punk. Even the things we talked about that weren't about CM Punk were still about CM Punk. Mm-hmm. Everything came back to it.
Yeah, so, I really enjoyed your guys' take on like, you know, what if you would have went to Impact? Like I thought all that stuff was fun. Funny enough, though, you and I, even off air, and I know on air we haven't really talked about the CM Punk return to WWE.
No, we've been really busy lately. You and I haven't touched a whole lot of bases in the last couple of weeks. I don't want to rehash too much of what we talked this week. No. I'm not going to give my opinions haven't changed since last week. I do want to know your initial thoughts when you saw it. I also want to know there's something I said last week I know that you may have issue with. So I want to give you a minute to kind of to say your piece. But is it only me, or do you have any issues with anything that Matt and Adam may have had to say last week?
I agreed a lot more with what Adam was saying than what you and Matt were saying. I think Adam was looking at it in a different set of eyes than you and Matt were as well, though, which is kind of something that you and I do as well. I tend to look at things a little bit more on the business side, and you are more with your heart. I think that's fair to say.
Very fair to say. Yeah.
I didn't hate anything about it. Obviously, it's not a secret that I am a CM Punk fan. I have been for many years. But
that's one thing I did bring up. Yeah, that's one thing I did bring up, and that's where you do think with your heart because you are a CM Punk fan, a CM Punk mark, as it were. I am not. So it was very easy for me to be unimpressed with what I saw because, I mean, if Roddy Piper came back from the grave and jumped in that fucking ring next week and did nothing at all, I'm going to call it the greatest thing I've ever seen in wrestling in my entire fucking life. You may differ.
Well, now, to be fair, though, I have been very honest as well when I think Punk is being a dick. I don't think I put my blinders on. If he's being a dick, I haven't taken his side on everything he's done. I thought the return was cool. Obviously, it was a wow moment. You know what I mean? It was a big moment. I'm really wondering though, like, CM Punk has done so many of these great moments, but they're all in Chicago. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. He's a huge draw.
You're not going down the Ryback rabbit hole, are you?
No, I'm not going down the Ryback rabbit hole. And I think that I think his return to the WWE, I think he's going to be much bigger than he was in the AEW, because I think WWE will market him better. I think they will use him smarter, and they don't run Chicago every 3 weeks, so. You know what I mean? The fans are going to get a chance to see more Punk. I did just want to touch on his promo before we move on, because you said you weren't a big fan of it. You thought he was kind of hypocritical, saying I'm home, right?
Hypocritical, sure, but that's not my problem with it. A lot of people are hypocritical. A lot of people in wrestling are hypocritical. My problem is that I found it to be pandering. I have a problem with this guy talking shit for so many years and then coming and doing this. Not just him. I don't like the I'm home thing when I don't believe it's genuine.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan did it after trying to put WWE out of business more than once. When he says I'm home, I didn't buy it for a fucking second. He was pandering to the fucking crowd. I didn't like it then, and I didn't like it when Punk did it. I don't think it was genuine. I think he was just pandering to the crowd. Now, if he wanted to say I'm home in Chicago, different fucking story. But to say I'm home in the WWE, I don't fucking buy it.
I didn't like it at first either, until I actually listened to some of the things that he was saying, and he kind of put over Vince. I don't know if you picked up on that. When
I didn't. No.
He basically said, and I'm going to assume he was talking about Vince here because he didn't mention Vince by name, but he said a wise old man once told me that sometimes you have to leave in order to see what you really had and to be happy. And I hate to give credit to that wise old man, but he was right. And
I never thought of that. Of course, that's got to be Vince, right?
Right? I would think so.
Or you know who else it could be? Paul Heyman.
Could be Heyman as well.
Wise man, you know what I mean? And they have a history. They have a relationship.
Like, I like that he said that. I know you said that you didn't like it because and I think you look at his AEW debut promo differently than I do, where you think that, you know, he's buried the WWE by saying I've been gone from wrestling since this long. WWE is not wrestling. It's sports entertainment. Ring of Honor is wrestling. AEW is wrestling. Here's
where we're splitting here. I call bullshit on that. This is wrestling and sports entertainment are the same fucking thing. Are the same.
No.
They're the exact same fucking thing.
But that's Vince wouldn't use that wrestling word, right? I think
no. He's just as bad as anybody else. When you're sitting there going, I'll never call it sports entertainment. Or on the flip side, you're Vince going, I'm in entertainment, pal. It's the same fucking thing.
It is.
It's the same fucking thing.
I got what he was saying there.
It's the fucking circus. It's the fucking circus. All of it. You are a scripted, choreographed sport. It is the fucking circus. If you're gonna sit there, Will Ospreay, I've gained a lot of respect for Will Ospreay in the last year. I'm not gonna lie. But Will Ospreay said something about a year, maybe even 2 years ago, where he flat out said he'd never go to WWE because WWE is not what he does. They're entertainers. I'm a wrestler. And that turned me off of him for a long time. Excuse me. Because to me, it's like, all right, well, if you don't want to be an entertainer, if you don't want to be a storyteller, then go to the UFC. Go to a sport where it's a sport.
It's different presentation though.
But don't sit there and say I'm not an entertainer. I'm not a storyteller. Then you're in the wrong fucking business.
Yeah, but it's
AEW is as much sports entertainment as WWE is. So is ECW. So was WCW. So is TNA.
I don't agree with that.
Sports entertainment, because at the end of the day, they're telling stories. They all have wacky fucking characters. Give me one fucking. Name one promotion that hasn't had a stupid ass fucking story where that it was completely unbelievable with a wacky fucking character that is completely off the fucking planet.
Clearly, Impact. They are a very serious company that doesn't do anything off the top.
Why do we love professional wrestling? Because it's not real. It's out of this world. It's over the top. It's grandiose. It's ridiculous. Wrestling is ridiculous, and that's why we love it. Now, do I respect and love the athletic nature of it as well? Of course I do. It's on par with the ridiculous nature of it as well. But without, and for the people who want to come at me with their New Japan bullshit, Kenny Omega once wrestled a little girl.
That wasn't in New Japan though.
And a blow up doll makes a lot of appearances.
But that wasn't New Japan though. That was in DDT.
Okay, how about the thumb up the butt train?
I don't think any of that was New Japan, was it? What's thumb up the butt? I don't know what that is.
There's like 6 guys in the ring and they all shoved their fucking thumb up each other's asses.
I'm pretty sure that's not New Japan.
And Kenny was one of them.
I'm pretty sure that was all that stuff was DDT. Because they're wild, they're pretty out there. But I don't fully agree with what you're saying. I understand, I
respect that. I respect that, but that's how I feel.
I understand the point that you're making, and you're not wrong. But I look at it a little differently. Every wrestling company to me is different.
I'll agree with that, and that's why I love the landscape of wrestling right now.
Like Ring of Honor, and I'm just going to specifically go to that Punk promo. Ring of Honor for Punk was special. It was professional wrestling. It was his home. It's what made him. When he went to WWE, it was something totally different. And he did well there. He did very well there, obviously. But it was different. It wasn't professional wrestling. It was sports entertainment. That's how they brand it. So I think when he said, I haven't been in professional wrestling in 8 years, I think he was just trying to put Ring of Honor over. I didn't look at it as I'm shitting on WWE. I just looked at it as I'm back to my roots.
Yeah, sure. But I still don't buy that because AEW is not that.
Well, I think he was hoping that was that, or at that time they were more like that.
Because just look at the first year of AEW alone. You have a fucking wrestling librarian. You know what I mean?
Hey, we do not talk badly about that. She is fantastic.
I'm not talking about him.
Oh, you're going
I'm not talking about her. What's the guy? Avalon?
There's Avalon, yeah.
Like it was, and I'm not shitting on it. It's part of professional wrestling. Every professional wrestling company has
they have wackiness. Absolutely.
They're Danhausens and their PCOs and
100%.
They're fucking Mantars. You know what I mean? All companies have them.
To put a bow on the Punk thing, because I know that we spent a lot of time last week, and I don't want to go all show on it this week as well. I thought his return promo was fine for what it was. I wasn't expecting a pipe bomb.
It's not breaking any barriers. It shouldn't have been. Thank you.
Yeah.
If he would have came out and started, there was 2 things I didn't want. I didn't want a big old shoot, and I sure as fuck didn't want him shooting on AEW.
No. And you won't hear him mention AEW at all. I guarantee it.
Because Triple H, WWE won't have that. Nope. That's not their method. That's not.
I've only ever seen WWE that I can remember off the top of my head. Now I'm sure I'm wrong because I'm sure it happens, but I can only remember on air WWE taking a shot at AEW one time. Twice? What was I know the Hall of Fame with DX, but that was just Triple H off the cuff making.
Okay, so if you're not counting that, then once. I believe it was, who was it? Was it Miz? Not Miz. Ziggler? Somebody made a fucking comment.
Oh, Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn said AEW on air.
Yeah.
It was Sammy. Yeah,
And I remember,
I forgot about that.
And I
He
remember it
said their
being a
initials.
big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, and
But
I
I
remember
don't
it
think he
being a big
buried them,
deal.
though. He didn't bury them. He just said them.
No, he didn't. He didn't bury them.
That's the
But
difference between
but
WWE.
even
They're not going to do that.
well, they said it a long time ago during the Monday Night Wars. If you're desperate enough to have to bring attention to your competition, you're losing.
No. They did a lot of that during the Monday Night Wars.
Not as much as WCW did.
Not as much, but they were fucking the Huckster, the Nacho Man, Scheme Gene.
That was before the Monday Night Wars. That was
that was
in
the
the
beginning of the Monday Night Wars.
That was in the infancy.
The
that
Rock,
was the infancy.
Rock cut that promo where he did all the WCW guys' catchphrases.
Yeah, you're not
like
wrong.
They definitely were not afraid to take shots. The fucking DX invaded Nitro. Like they went like no, they were just as bad there.
Yes,
that was a war. That was a war. They were trying to put each other out of business. Totally different. But just to wrap it up, I thought the promo was fine. It doesn't need to be a pipe bomb. That doesn't mean that we're not going to see a pipe bomb at some point, because it's coming. And I'm excited to see a lot of fresh faces for Punk to work with. Love him or hate him, the guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to generate attention. He's going to be a big shot in the arm coming into the WrestleMania season, which already had a lot of hype about it. And I think it's a win-win for everybody involved.
I feel sorry to some of the guys who may have quote unquote lost their spot. Everything shifts now. Everything's different now. But sorry, that's the name of the game. That's the way the cookie crumbles.
Dig deeper. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is what it is.
Not that they're not better, but find another level.
Because anybody who thinks that they are, that they're going to be in that spot against Seth rather than CM Punk is a little delusional.
Are you kind of implying like Gunther maybe is a guy that you could see of getting bumped down, or an LA Knight maybe?
I don't know. I don't think the plans for Gunther were ever to be in that main event picture yet. Not this year.
That's the other thing I want to talk about too.
LA Knight should definitely feel worried right now.
You guys were talking about this last week, and you're talking about Gunther, and my vote for Gunther is Jey Uso,
which I'm fine with.
I think Jey Uso would benefit the most out of anybody on that roster to beat Gunther, because he's hot right now. He's super over. He's super talented. But for whatever reason, I just don't like. I know they call him main event Jey Uso, but he
doesn't feel like a main eventer.
He needs a big win. You know what I mean? Because people believe in him, but every big opportunity he has been against Roman, and he's not going to beat Roman for the belt. But if he beats Gunther for the belt, I think that it does justice to Gunther's title reign, because he gets beat by a credible challenger. It's going to elevate Jey Uso. It's going to elevate Gunther. It's going to elevate the IC title. And, I look at it like when Edge first won the IC title, when he was feuding with like Randy Orton. Like, that's how I look at that. And I think that it's a step. It's for what the belt should be, to elevate people. Gunther has been elevated to main event status. I think that this win elevates Jey Uso to main event status. Then you have Jay and Jimmy at Mania for the belt.
You and I both grew up watching in the early 90s. Look what that IC title did to guys. Like, it didn't do it to everybody it touched. Like Marty Jannetty didn't go anywhere with it, and certain guys. But look at what that title did to the likes of Bret Hart. Look at what that title did to the likes of Mr. Perfect or Shawn Michaels. That it brought them from they're really good to okay.
And Bret and Shawn especially.
That's what that title used to be. Whoever held it, that's going to be the next guy in the main event picture. That's going to be the next guy headlining WrestleMania going for the title. That's what that title used to be.
Macho Man.
Macho, 100%. Right? That's what that title was at some time. At one point in time.
Triple H.
Some guys never got there. You got your Bulldog, you sing your Owens, but then you have your Stone Cold Steve Austins and your Triple H's. That was the workhorse title for a very, very long time, and it hasn't been for the last, I'd say, 15 years. But it is finally, I think, now, because name a bigger workhorse than Gunther.
I think that the IC title feels more important than Seth Rollins' heavyweight title. 100%.
I'm not going to disagree with that at all.
You said the
I'm
word
not going to lie to you.
workhorse.
I like silly shit. I'm not going to lie to you. I love the idea that came up last week about an IC title match happening right in the middle of the Royal Rumble.
See, now here's the thing. I think that
I like that.
I
like
think
that
idea is very fun if Gunter wasn't breaking records. If it wasn't, I think that's an idea to save for another time, because I just feel like it. I feel like it does Gunter's reign dirty by just, oh, you lost the belt in the Royal Rumble.
If he loses, yeah. But just that match happening and then him like squashing Damian in the middle of it, I like it.
Yeah, but like it would become like a 30-man IC title match at that point.
Okay, but would it?
Yeah, because when Seth cashed in, it became a triple threat.
But that was already a title match. This isn't a title match. He's coming in and challenging the champion in a match. It just so happens to be he's already in a match. It doesn't have, he's not challenging. In this case, Seth had to challenge the champion and the current challenger. There are no current challengers in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I don't know how the analytics of that work. Like if they would have cashed in that during War Games, would that have been like a War Games match for the world title? Like how does that work?
Seth came in during a title match. This is not a title match. He can make a title match within a match.
Shouldn't have been 2 singles matches then?
Are we really trying to find logic in professional wrestling here?
Fair. You mentioned the word workhorse. I have a question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot.
I also mentioned the word Mantar.
Fair enough. You want to talk about Mantar for a little bit? He was managed by Jim Cornette. How do you feel about him right now?
That's coming. Let's do what you want.
That was a good segue, though, right?
That was a great segue, but we're not ready for that.
All right, I'm putting you on the spot this week. It's my turn. You do this shit to me all the time, and I love it. So,
and I get great emails and messages about it. By the way,
well,
the only people tell me they love when I quiz you.
I love it too, actually.
And people are very impressed with how you hold up. Well, I have been asked several times to make it a weekly thing.
I would love that.
I don't know that I'm going to make it a weekly thing, but it's going to happen more often for sure.
I'm down.
Put me on the spot. What do you got?
Mention the word workhorse, and there's a great workhorse that's going to be making his return to the WWE soon, and that is AJ Styles.
Yeah, baby.
Where does AJ Styles fit in on the WWE right now as we come into WrestleMania season? If you got the book, who are you putting AJ with at Mania?
The smart money is you don't bring him into the Raw after Mania.
You think so? I don't know, man. I want him back. I think you bring him back.
It's too convoluted. There's too much going on. You got Randy back and Punk back, and there's no way his return can hold a candle to these two.
No, but he'll be back soon.
Me personally, I'd like to see him come back the night after WrestleMania and make a big fucking, because the night after WrestleMania, you always want that one big thing, right? Well, that one big thing could be AJ.
I think the night after WrestleMania magic is over because the last 3 or 4.
But it doesn't have to be. But it doesn't have to be.
4 or 5 years have been really bad. Mm-hmm. They have not been good.
But it takes that one time, man, where AJ could reignite that shit. If anyone could do it, it's AJ Styles. However, to answer, if you really want me to answer your question and you don't like my answer, what do I do if you have to put him into the current situation? He's one guy that could challenge Gunther. That would be fun.
I don't hate that.
Yeah. I don't know how he gets there.
Now, would you rather see Gunther and AJ or Brock and Gunther?
I know. I think I'd rather see Gunther and AJ, to be honest.
Interesting.
But I think I know how you get there. You get there the way that you would have got there with Brock. You just have them. You have AJ make his return in the Rumble.
Eliminate him.
You have Gunther. Well, you have Gunther fucking clearing house. And the first person that really challenge him, to really give him a fight for his money, is AJ Styles. And that just turns in, maybe they eliminate each other. Maybe they just brawl out of the ring. it turns into a thing, and they go to WrestleMania, and it's AJ versus Gunther. I just talked myself into it. I think that's what I do, man.
I don't hate that. Another guy that I'm kind of wondering where his road to WrestleMania is going is Randy Orton.
Okay, and this was my second thought. AJ and Orton versus Mysterio and Finn.
I think we're going to see Bad Bunny and Mysterio team up against Dom and Priest, or Dom and Finn, or somebody.
Oh, sorry. When I said Mysterio, I meant Dom. So I was thinking Dom and Finn versus AJ and Randy.
Interesting. I think we're going to get Ray and Bad Bunny involved there, unless they spin Ray off with and Bad Bunny against the LWO. Against that Escobar guy, right?
Well, that seems to be the story right now. Ray's doing the whole thing with Escobar and all that. I think they're going that way. I don't think Ray's even focused on Dom right now. But Orton is focused on Judgment Day. Well, Orton's focused on both Judgment Day and Bloodline. So
I think he's because now they put him on SmackDown. So I think he's going Bloodline. What about Randy and Solo?
Randy and Solo's money.
I like that because I think you're going to get Jimmy and Jay. Then you get Randy and Solo.
You think you get Jimmy and Jay? Yeah.
I think that's the right move for Mania, Jimmy and Jay. And they've earned that. They've earned that moment.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to go Randy and Solo. And to be honest, I don't have an answer for my own question. I don't know where you go with AJ Styles. Do you go LA Knight, maybe? Do you go Logan Paul?
No. If you do LA Knight, will you turn it? Are you turning AJ because LA Knight's he's too over right now?
Yeah, I think you'd turn AJ, but I mean, what are they fighting for? It's kind of meaningless, right?
Yeah, I don't.
I think I'd rather see LA Knight and Logan Paul fight at Mania as well. Yeah, AJ, Sheamus.
Yeah,
I've never seen them work. I don't think.
Yeah, there's matches that I would like to see, but just aren't
McIntyre
fitting into WrestleMania right now. Let like even the Miz, but that's just not a WrestleMania match right now.
Maybe McIntyre. McIntyre will be looking for something, unless he's going to do Owens. Maybe I don't know. There's a lot of people. I'm interested to see where they fall in the road to WrestleMania.
I'm not going to lie to you, buddy. I'm a little flat on McIntyre these days.
Yeah, I'm not too into him myself right now. So,
a face versus face kind of respect match, Sammy and AJ.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
I mean, it'd be a tremendous match.
I don't know where Sammy goes. I don't know where Kevin goes. I don't know where McIntyre goes. I don't know where AJ goes. I'm a lot of where are you going to go?
We had a couple weeks of build before the Royal Rumble. I think it all depends where we're going in the Royal Rumble.
100%. I like that there's a break between events until the Rumble too. It's going to make it feel a little bigger. Like
big time. Triple H. Triple H's wheels are turning when it comes to this build to Royal Rumble.
Speaking of Royal Rumble too,
big again.
Women's Royal Rumble. I don't think it's getting talked about enough this year. Everyone's talking about the men's and who's going to win and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I don't know where the women are going to go this year either.
Who are the two champions? It's Rhea and
Io.
That's right.
I think your Mania match for Rhea this year has got to be Becky.
I think that writes itself, especially after these War Games. I don't think you watched the women's War Games match yet. But everything we saw at War Games, it does. It writes itself. It's going to be Becky and Rhea. If it's anything else, it doesn't make sense as far as I'm concerned.
I just think that's the biggest match too. It's fresh. It never really had a one-on-one, as far as I know.
I think it's going to be Io and Bayley.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet as well. You put Bayley over a face Bayley.
Face Bayley. I think Dakota. It's either going to be Io and Bayley or Dakota and Bayley if she's cleared.
I would like to see Io.
I think Dakota's going to take over as the face, the leader of Damage Control, and then if it would make more sense, like I like the Io match too, but it would make more sense for her to fight the person who's taking over the group. If she's still injured, you have her manage Io, and then it's perfect.
I would like to see Bailey win the Royal Rumble, and for one night only at WrestleMania, we see the return of the old music and the blow ups, and she fights Io at WrestleMania.
I would absolutely fucking love that. You know, have her win the Royal Rumble. The very next night, Dakota Kai gets pissed off and turns on Dakota Kai and Io and Asuka, all of them turn on Bailey.
You could have
Bailey.
I would have
Bailey
Dakota Kai stay with Bailey.
No, that's not what they're building right now. They're building her to be the new leader of the group.
Yeah, fair. I guess that makes sense.
That's what they're doing. They even called her the leader of the group at War Games. No, this is where they want her to be a major heel. I can sense this. If anyone's going to leave the group, it's going to be Kairi Sane.
You see possible return of Sasha Banks to help her old friend Bailey in a feud like that?
Absolutely not. No.
I don't know.
I think WWE has sailed on that ship.
It's Triple H product right there, Sasha Banks.
I think she's proven that she's not as hot a commodity as she thought she was when she left.
I agree to an extent. Her getting injured right off the hop didn't help her cause, but
Trinity has had a more successful year than Sasha has.
Well, Sasha had 2 matches and got hurt. I don't think that's a fair comparison. But I love what Trinity's doing, and I think if they were both healthy, I would agree with you still.
There's this man named Stone Cold Steve Austin who once broke his neck and proved that you don't need to be in the ring having matches every week to be the most over thing in the fucking world. You make it work.
But did he ever win a gold medal with a broken freaking neck? You want to talk about Destiny, or you want to rant about Jim Cornette?
Yes. I'll go on Jim Cornette afterwards, before we go into your list. But you want to talk about Destiny? I don't want to talk about Destiny. I want to talk about the fact that you, my friend, were lucky enough that you got to do something that I don't think you ever thought you'd be able to do. Something that I never thought I'd be able to do. Yeah, you want to do a Destiny show, but you went to an OVW show.
That's cool.
That's kind of cool to kind of click off the list, right?
Absolutely. It was
OVW is, it's legendary. It is where some of the greats came from. It's not the same product now as it was 30 years ago, 25 years ago, 20 years ago. It's not the same thing, but it's still OVW. So the fact that you got to go to an OVW show this past week, I'm very, very jealous.
It was cool. It was a good time. I got a couple of really cool experiences out of this show. Destiny always puts on a great show, and their next one in February, you got to be pretty hyped up about as well.
There's no way I'm missing this one. One of my favorites. We met a lot of really cool people this year. Let's be honest. We met a lot of really cool people in 2023. But one of my favorite moments in 2023 was meeting the Deathmatch King himself, the indie god, Matt Cardona. Getting to meet Matt Cardona was a highlight of 2023 for me, because he is one of my favorite wrestlers of 2023. 2021, Mike, is fucking going, what? What the fuck are you talking? Because I used to hate Zack Ryder. But Matt Cardona, the Deathmatch King himself, is one of the best things to happen this year and in 2022. So for you and I to go there, for me to show up there wearing a Rory Fox t-shirt, it was fucking perfect. That was such a fun night for me. So when you told me that he was coming into the next Destiny show, we're there, buddy. We're there.
In Oshawa too. Going to the Schwa.
I don't like that part.
Destiny was great though. I got a lot of really cool content for the show, which will be coming up in the near future.
I'm very proud of I've seen what you've done, a lot of it. I'm very proud of what you were able to accomplish this weekend.
Yeah, you know what? Wilson and I, we went down together before we went to Destiny, because Wilson was doing the seminar with Al Snow, which was really cool because that's his favorite wrestler of all time. And I was super proud of him to get that opportunity. Yeah. But before that, we stopped into the Newmarket Comic-Con, and I actually got another interview with Eric Rowan, which we'll be putting out probably in the new year, I would guess.
Yeah,
Maybe now.
There's nothing time sensitive. We'll put it out when we need to.
But super great guy. He actually remembered me from the other Comic-Con that I interviewed him at, which was kind of nice. That was kind of
He
cool.
probably saw you going, oh, fuck.
Yeah, pretty much. No, he was super great with his time. Then we headed down. We went to the Don Kozlov Arena for Destiny Wrestling. I was hanging out with Brian Weiss for a lot of the day. Had some really great conversations with him. Yeah, had some great conversation with him and George McKay. We had a good time. But then I made a new best friend.
Mm-hmm.
I got the absolute honor to hang out and talk to Ron Hutchinson, legendary.
I'm so jealous.
And what an amazing human being he is.
Fucking jealous. You and I have been trying to get Ron Hutchinson on the show for 3 years. And he's always turned us down so politely, by the way.
Yes.
He was always, but he's never wanted to do it. And even in person, he told you, yeah, I don't do those, but you want to chat?
Well, yeah, that was what he said to me. Because Ron, I've only spoken to him once over an email, and he was super polite. He said, "Hey, I really appreciate you reaching out to me. I don't do interviews at all. I don't do podcasts. I don't do interviews. I just try to stay away from them. They get me in trouble," which is fair. I don't know if he said he got me in trouble, but I mean, he's just like, it's just not something I do. He goes, "But I wish you the greatest success with your show," which I thought was really nice. And I mentioned that to him. I said, I spoke to you a few weeks ago. You were so kind. And he's like, it doesn't cost anything to be kind. He goes, and, I might not want to do interviews, but I will sit down with you right now and I will talk to you for as long as you want about anything you want. And we talked about everything from Edge and Christian, obviously, to his days working with Emile Dupree. We talked about Ric Flair, Harley Race, Terry Funk, just some of his traveling stories.
Let's not forget he trained one of the most successful women's wrestlers in history in Beth Phoenix.
Yes, and Trish Stratus and Gail Kim. We talked about all of them. And it was super cool. And it was awesome because people were coming up to Ron and he knew his people there. Not a lot of people knew Ron either. So they would introduce himself. But anytime there was a lull, he would just kind of find me and we would just start talking again. It was like by the end of the day, we were buddies. It was cool. I had a really surreal moment where I was talking to Ron and then Santino Marella just came up and joined our conversation. And I'm just sitting here in a conversation with Santino Marella and Ron Hutchinson. And I just kind of took a step back and was like, this is really cool right now.
I've been thinking about that because we, every once in a while it just hits me how cool I can't even call it a job because we don't get paid, but how cool our hobby is. How cool, like the things that you and I get to do just because we started this weird little podcast, almost 4 years ago, almost 200 episodes ago, by the way. Getting there. We started this thing that we didn't think would go anywhere. And the things that we get to do because of it is fucking mind-boggling. And I want to take you, and I want to go on to something that mind-boggled me this week, because you said something about Ron Hutchinson, and Ron had said, it doesn't take much to just be kind.
Wait, hold on. Are you going on Cornet right now?
No.
Oh.
And how, you talk about how he kindly turned us down for interview. I want to talk about somebody else that was just so kind to me. I got a phone call the other day. My phone rang, and it was Marcus Buff Bagwell. Because we had been talking over email, and I was trying to get him on the show, and it wasn't going to work out. The negotiations between he and I, it's not, the timing isn't right. He's not going to be on the show anytime soon. But he called me to explain why it wasn't going to work out. He didn't have to do that.
Mm-hmm. Class act.
Do you know how many people? He didn't just email me. He called my fucking phone. He's like, "Hey, this is Marcus Bagwell. How you doing?" And I just sat there, and I was mind blown, man. And we talked for about 5 minutes, and I thanked him for being so kind. I said, "Not everybody does this, man." I said, "I want you to know that." I said, this isn't normal. I said, we get so many answers. People just, read our messages and don't reply. It happens all the time. Or they just don't show up for their interview. It happens all the time. And we've gotten used to it. It's to the point now where we're not even hurt by it, but we're not bothered by it because it's just part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody is so goddamn nice to us, like a Ron Hutchinson, like a Steve Carino, like a Stevie Richards, who don't have to reply and explain themselves, but they do anyways. And then this guy, Marcus Bagwell, phones me in person to talk and explain, hey, this is why I don't think this is going to work out. Class fucking act.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I was very impressed to hear that.
We try our best not to talk shit about too many people on this show, but when it's the opposite, when I can raise people up and talk about how great people are, I'm going to do it. And I'm glad that in 1 week, you and I both got to experience that in Ron Hutchinson and Marcus Bagwell.
Well, you know what? I'm going to even raise the bar a little bit more, too, because you want to talk about the ultimate acts of kindness and great people. Uh-huh. Two of the nicest people that I have ever met in my entire life, Hollywood Haley J and her mother, the amazing Maria from OVW, from the wrestler on Netflix.
Yeah.
They were incredible. And Haley, you could really see Haley. It really meant a lot for her to be there. It was both their first times ever in Canada, which is really cool.
That's been happening to us a lot lately. That's really cool.
And they were so amazing. I didn't know that Amazing Maria was going to be at the show, so I didn't have anything prepped for her.
I didn't know Amazing Maria was Haley J's mom.
Yeah,
she looks like she's old enough to be her sister.
Yeah, 100%. And Haley was great, gave me a great interview. And I asked Amazing Maria as well. I'm like, I didn't know you were going to be here, but I would love to have a conversation with you. She gave me about a 15-minute interview backstage.
That's beautiful.
And then when it was done, I showed them, I had a picture that Jonah had made of the cast of the wrestlers. I wanted to get signed for a giveaway here. And her mom signed it. Amazing Maria signed it. And I'm like, oh, I forgot to get your daughter to sign it. And she goes, Haley J, you get over here right now. The Louisiana accent. And Haley came over and she signed it. And she goes, oh, man, I really love this poster. Do you have one for me? And I said, well, as a matter of fact, I do have a second one, which I was going to give to Jonah. Sorry, Jonah. And I pulled it out.
You did the right thing.
And I gave it to Haley. I said, you can have this one. She's like, oh, man, thank you so much. I'm going to hang this in my room. Like, she was so nice. But then I'm just sitting on the floor with Amazing Maria and Haley standing over top of us, and Wilson was there. And we're just hanging out, shooting the shit about everything, about the show, about, them being in Canada, about this and that. And I'm listening, and just the kindest people that I've spoken with. And then on top of that, cherry on the cake, we finally got an interview on Counted Out with the Great White Whale.
Holy fuck.
I got an
opportunity. This goes back. I want people to understand how far this goes back. This goes beyond Counted Out. This goes to WrestleMedia. This goes because this shit happened started with Adam. Okay? This goes back 6 fucking years that I have been part of a program that has been trying to get the Great White Whale, Moby Dick, on his show.
Well, and it's funny.
And Tyler Wolf, you finally fucking did it.
And it doesn't just go with our show either. Like, Al Snow is notorious. He's such a great guy. He's such a great guy, and he will reply to your messages, and he's always game to do the podcast. I will do the interview. But then it just the follow-up of stuff.
Yeah.
And we played phone tag with him, email tag with him for years. Jonah has played email tag with him.
Because I remember you telling me, it's like, yeah, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We've lost him. And then I got him. And you remember how proud I was that I got him?
Mm-hmm.
And then right to the day of, it's like, it's not happening, is it?
Yeah, but I get it. That guy does so much. Even watching him at the Destiny show, And it just worked out. And I will thank Amazing Maria actually as well for this, because I had told her that Wilson's favorite wrestler of all time was Al Snow. And Wilson happened to be walking by when her and Al were talking after the show. I had asked Al earlier in the show if I could get a quick interview with him, and he had said yes, but it was like, I don't know if that, like, sometimes it happens and things just don't work out, you know. And
it's happened to us at a lot of shows.
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't feel great about that. Yes, but I'm not gonna give up on it, right? And it just so happened as Wilson was walking by, Amazing Maria grabbed his arm and was like, Al, this right here, you always say that nobody likes you and you have no fans. Well, this here is one of your fans. He's your biggest fan. And they had a great conversation. Al started cracking jokes about Mick Foley.
I don't know if the people on the show know the book story. Can you tell the people on the show what is inscribed in Wilson's book?
So Wilson and myself went to, and our friend Nat Duel, shout out Nat Duel, we went to Hamilton Comic-Con one year, and Mick Foley was there. And we were getting ready to meet him, and Wilson went up, and he got a picture of Mick Foley, and he got Mick Foley to sign it to Al Snow's.
Oh, it was a picture. I thought it was a copy of his book. Okay.
No. It's a picture. It's an autographed picture, and he got it inscribed to Al Snow's fan. And Wilson brought the picture and showed it to Al, and I was like, that motherfucker. But
Al must have marked
his fan. Al laughed at it, but then he started making fun of Foley. So, what was his joke to him? He's like, Mick Foley's wife, Mick Foley promised his wife on their wedding night 275 pounds of dynamite. And she just said, I didn't know that they make wick that small. And it was great. And Al had some fun at Mick's expense in our interview we had a great chat with Al. We had a great chat with Haley J, great chat with Amazing Maria, great chat with Rowan, and a great chat with Shira as well. We got
Shira, you got Shira. That's great.
Super, super nice guy as well. Very humble. A lot of great stuff coming up over the next few weeks, and then of course the year-end show is coming.
Oh, I got to give that to you. You and I both have our babies right now. You working really hard on the year-end. I'm working really hard on the 200th show, and
And we got to figure out our anniversary show, which is shortly after the 200 show as well.
Holy fuck, man! We have a lot coming up in the next few months, guys. A lot. The next few months is going to be huge. But before we've been rambling quite a bit. I want to get into the list. Before we get in the list, I got to tell you, a few minutes ago, you were talking about the two nicest people you ever met. And, it turned out to be Amazing Maria and Haley Jade. But I thought for a second there, you're talking about two of the nicest guys I've ever met, be it Junior Benito and McCrae Martin.
Yes.
Two of my favorite people to ever run into in the Indies, especially, no offense, Junior, I've only run into you a handful of times. Love you. But McCrae, there's something between McCrae and you and me.
Well, every time we get right from the beginning,
right from the beginning, every time we get to a show, he's one of those guys. The minute he shows up, he's hugging. Yeah, he's not coming. He's not giving you the wrestler handshake. He's coming around you with a fucking hug. McCrae Martin is one of the sweetest, nicest, most genuine people I've ever met. He also happens to be one of the most talented wrestlers on the independent scene. I've talked about this, and we're going to talk about this in length on the year-end show. He is a match of the year contender in Barrie. He's a match of the year contender in several organizations, as is Junior Benito is. Junior Benito just had a match of the year contender at C4 against Kevin Blackwood, where he became the C4 champion. These two guys are tremendous wrestlers, and they have a tremendous tag team called Fresh Air that got 100% unprovoked and unfairly shit on by one of the biggest pieces of shit in wrestling. You can say what you want. I don't know if he thinks he's just a gimmick now, and that's his gimmick. I shit on people, but fuck Jim Cornette. I'm done. Once you shit on my friends, I'm fucking done.
Yeah, I'm
disappointed.
What I mean?
My biggest problem is he didn't have any reason to do it. There was no reason for him to bury two guys who worked their balls off. And I guarantee that Jimmy has never ever seen them work.
Yeah. Well, basically, him and his co-host just buried a whole bunch of people on the PWI 100 Greatest Tag Teams of the Year list. They buried everybody. Think
about, what was he expecting? Did he think Ricky Morton was going to be 1 through 100? Is that what he wanted?
Take a step back for a minute here, and just think about it from a different point of views here. Fresh Air, Hot Stepper, and Junior Benito. They were ranked number 61 on that list. Which is so impressive considering they're not on television. They're independent wrestlers,
Yeah.
And to have a moment like that probably, it probably deep down feels really good. And I know probably, people try to downplay accolades and stuff, but it feels good no matter what when your work gets recognized.
100%.
And for this guy who is, let's call a spade. He's one of the greatest of all time, Jim Cornette. One of the greatest managers of all time.
Keyword was
one of the greatest.
He hasn't been relevant. He hasn't been relevant in 30 fucking years.
He's a top 5 greatest manager of all time. That's fair to say.
That's not even close to an argument.
Right?
He's probably on my Mount Rushmore of managers.
He's one of the best minds and best bookers of all time.
Yes.
Take Smoky Mountain out of the equation.
I can't take Smoky Mountain out of the equation. That was his baby.
He booked some really good angles with Smoky Mountain as well. Jim Cornette is a great mind of the business. He's a great booker. He's a great manager. But for someone of that stature to just go out of his way and shit on all these people for no reason. Like that. Why crush the souls of I get it. There's some stupid shit in the business and it's soured Cornette and whatever. It's the business that you loved. It's the business that you poured your blood, sweat, and tears into. I can understand bitter old man yells at cloud. I get it. But there's no need to crush everybody. There's good workers out there still. And McRae and Junior are great workers and even better human beings. And I'm disappointed in Jim Cornette. I'm done.
I just don't know what there's to shit on there. Is it that? Is that what you don't like?
I like the hats. We should wear hats like that. What are you mumbling over there?
Didn't he book the Christmas creature?
No, that was Memphis.
Okay.
That was Memphis.
I was trying to think of was that fucking Smokey? No, that was Memphis.
I did some booking this week. I booked a list.
You did? You did. It's been a while.
It's been a while. I don't know. Apparently, according to you, I didn't know how to do it in the first place. So we'll see.
That's true. Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. I got to get prepared. I'm not going to. I don't think I'm going to like this. So I need to go fill my drink.
Well, then it's time for one of Tyler Wolf's world famous smooth edits here.
You can't even say your own name.
Smooth edit, just like always. All right, so I am doing a list. I guess it's topical with the returns of Randy Orton and CM Punk. Top 7 returns of all time. This was not as hard as I thought it was going to be, but also very hard, if that makes sense.
Well, you have one bar to beat, and that's from Andrew Kent. When he had the show We Have Till 5, he did best returns, and he fucked it up big time. So big
was
time.
It worse than your Canada show?
Yes.
Wow.
Because you know what he called? I can't remember where it ranked. I don't remember if it was number 1, but you know what he called one of the biggest returns of all time?
What's that?
The return of CM Punk. The night after he left.
All right.
Yeah, that was one of the best returns of all time in Andrew's mind. Because he bounced, he had that, you know what I'm talking about, how he left with the title and all that shit.
Yeah,
and
he comes back the very next night on
Raw.
3 weeks later.
Was it 3 weeks?
Yeah, it was 3 weeks.
That fucking long.
And it was kind of a shitty return. Although it was the debut of Cult of Personality.
True.
It's okay. All right, so then I guess I need to change my number 6 here. This is awkward. No. Let's jump into it though. Number 7. Number 7 makes me really sad because we talked about my number 7 in great detail 1 year ago on our year-end show.
This is 7?
This is my number 7. It is the return of Bray Wyatt at Extreme Rules.
Yes, not what I thought it was going to be. But, yeah, my timing's off. Still, okay. All right. I would have put this in probably a 6 or 5 spot, but I'm not. Depending, I'm going to reserve judgment until I see what else is on your list and everything. This is such a cool return, though, because Matt and I discussed this last week, how this was, before they did the Punk thing where, you thought the show was off and everything. They did it with Bray.
Mm-hmm.
Riddle's leaving the fucking stadium. You think the show's over. Then the lights go. And you have the whole thing, you have the music, you have the spotlight going over, and you see all the human puppets and everything like that. That is one of my favorite returns ever.
To me, I like the hype up leading to the return better than the actual return itself.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was just so clever,
playing
White
QR
Rabbit, the QR code scattered throughout Raw, White Rabbit. I definitely think that this is the most creative return of all time. And it was a great moment in Philadelphia. And I just can't believe that 1 year later, Bray Wyatt has passed away. And it's just unbelievable. Like, I was literally talking to Wei Ting about where the year 2023 is going to be for Bray Wyatt. And I mean, it's just heartbreaking. It's a tragedy. But this is a moment I think that will live on. And I think this is a fantastic return that was just done so perfect.
100%. And it was, you could tell Bray felt good doing it because his dismissal from the company during COVID was kind of out of nowhere. It didn't make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody understand why it happened. And the minute Triple H had even the most minuscule bit of power to bring people back, Bray was almost number 1 on that list.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Bray's one of the first people he signed back out of all those people who got released during COVID.
My number 6. I think I'm going to take some heat from a lot of people for the placement of this.
Well, because you set the bar already, dude. You put Bray at number 7. You have an uphill battle here.
I'm going with the return of John Cena at the Royal Rumble.
Wow.
A lot of people really have this in their top 3, 4,
yeah.
And this is
top 5 at least.
This is an incredible return. It caught everybody off guard. Cena wasn't expected to be back until probably after WrestleMania, if I remember correctly. And this was a great moment. I think this might be the second greatest surprise Royal Rumble return of all time.
I think I'm mostly upset because I think that because this is your number 6, I have one that I truly love that shouldn't be higher than this, which tells me that you left it off your list completely.
Fair.
So I am a little disappointed already about that. We'll get there, but I'm very surprised that number 6. Okay, justify this. Justify this. I'm not ready to shit on you yet, but why number 6?
Because my other 5 I think are better. No.
No,
I do.
That's a fair answer. That's a fair answer. Sometimes that is the right answer.
It's kind of the same reason why Bray Wyatt is my number 7. It was such a great moment, but it was he came out number 30 in the Rumble, was only out there for about 7 minutes, won the Rumble, which is cool, but I don't know. I'm kind of looking for a little bit more emotion, I guess, if that makes sense. A little bit more, just a little bit more than 5 minutes, I guess. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Great pop, great moment. One of the best Royal Rumbles of all time. This was a great Royal Rumble.
A great Royal Rumble, great pop. You say good pop. That was a fucking pop.
This was a genuine surprise.
To all the people want to say that, the fans hated John Cena. That they proved. John Cena had fans. It wasn't just the
For
fucking
30
not
seconds.
just the kids, not just the kids and the moms. You know what I mean? You know, it's the internet fans that hated John Cena.
They popped and then booed him immediately, though.
Yeah.
Like by the end of the Rumble, they were all cheering for Triple H.
Because that was cool.
Oh, of course,
it's Kurt Angle sucks all over again. You know what I mean? It's because it's what you do. It's part of wrestling.
Well, number 5. Here's my deep cut. All right, you said you wanted to look for a couple deep cuts. Number 5 is my.
I don't
deep
want
cut.
deep. I don't want deep cuts anymore. I want the one that I want, and I know it's not going to make your list.
I think you're going to be really happy this one's on my list. I'm taking us back to the year 1998. WCW Monday Nitro. The return of Ric Flair to the company. Magic Night in Greensboro, Carolina. Arn Anderson, Chris Benoit, Steve McMichael, and Dean Malenko are all in the ring with J.J. Dillon wearing tuxedos. And everybody's buzzing because they want Flair. And Arn cuts this beautiful promo, heartfelt promo, thanking Dean Malenko for keeping the spirit of the Horseman alive. And of all the people have been begging for the Horseman to return and to be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. Then he finishes his promo and goes, "Oh my God, I almost forgot. Nature Boy Ric Flair, get out here." And the place went mental. Now, backstory is Ric Flair was pretty much fired by Eric Bischoff publicly.
Yeah.
Right? Because he wanted to go watch his son in a wrestling tournament, and Bischoff wanted to be on Thunder, even though he hadn't been on Thunder in 9 months. And they had a big falling out. Flair was publicly humiliated by Bischoff multiple times, and this was his return to the company. And the promo that he cut and the emotion behind it. Fire me. I'm already fired. You are no good son of a bitch. Like, this promo, the emotion of the crowd, the emotion of Flair, beautiful moment. This is one of my favorite promos of all time.
I gotta tell you, my instinct is to tell you that, yeah, I buy this as your number 5 if Cena was your number 4.
I think you need to go back and watch this whole moment.
But I have not watched this promo in probably 20 years.
I really think you need to revisit this.
I may have to go. I'm going to concede to that. I'm going to reserve judgment. I may have to go back and watch this because I have not watched this in a very, very long time.
Hold on to your judgment and watch it on your way home tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4.
All right.
No, I don't think you're gonna. I don't think I'm gonna have whatever you're looking for here. I don't know what you're looking for.
Do you have an idea what I'm looking for?
No, I don't have a clue.
Go for it. All right.
Number 4 is also taking us back just 2 years ago to WrestleMania. Seth Rollins is standing in the ring waiting for his mystery opponent, and the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, makes his return to the WWE.
I'm going to be honest with you, this doesn't make my list.
Are you out of your mind?
It doesn't make my list.
This was incredible.
Not because it's not incredible, because I think there's better ones. I think everything you already talked about, I think is, I don't know, man. There's 2 things I want in a return: either a huge surprise or a great build to the return. And I don't think this is either.
This was the best kept worst secret of wrestling, which made it better.
This was the worst kept secret in all of wrestling.
No, the best kept worst secret. I like mine better.
Worst kept best secret. No, listen, I've grown to love Cody over the years. I have. Him coming back to WWE has been the best thing for both Cody and the WWE. That moment is phenomenal. for me, it's not a top 7.
And then he gets in the ring and steals the show with Seth Rollins and has a fucking banger at WrestleMania.
It's just me.
That's part of the return.
I think I'm just butthurt. I'm not gonna like anything anymore.
I'm uphill here. I get it. I guess my number 3 is
what the fuck is it with me? Why do I pick something every week? 2 weeks ago, I couldn't stop saying, "Give him the flowers."
Yeah.
And this week, I can't stop saying butthurt. I've never said butthurt. That's the word you always use against. That's the word you always use against me. I've said that word like 50 times already in the show.
I went back and listened to the beginning of all of my interviews that we recorded at Destiny, and at the beginning of it, every single one, I go, "All righty." And
God,
not great. We're going to be editing that out for sure. You're not going to like my number 3 then. You know it has to be on the list. CM Punk returns to AEW.
Oh, this is a perfect spot for this.
Okay, I thought you were just gonna hate it because you hate
CM
no,
Punk. This is I do hate CM Punk, but I'll give the devil his due. And I'm not AEW devil. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is.
I have a theory.
But I know who it's not. It's not CM Punk.
Can I give you my theory on that real quick?
You told me your theory, but I'd like to see it online.
I think that you're going to see a combination of Wardlow, because he's got history with MJF, Britt Baker, Sammy Guevara. Is it just 3 of them, or is there 4 of them?
I don't know, but it better be 4 because you're missing a guy. Jack Perry has to be involved.
And Jack Perry, yes.
Yes.
And the reason why I say that, though, is because AEW, the pillars, with the exception of Darby. Yeah. So, Wardlow has his beef with MJF.
That's Can you imagine? Holy shit. I'm sorry to cut you off, but can you imagine that? Sting retires. Then what do you do with Darby, right? Darby turns heel the night after Sting retires, and it turns out he's one of the devils?
How about, wait a minute. What if we take it a different direction and Sting's the devil? And him and MJF have the match to retire Sting.
I love that. I fucking love that.
I mean, it won't have Sting can't be a heel going into his last match ever, but
if they wait, they can wait. They've waited this long. They can wait until after whatever that show's called.
No, it's too soon. I mean, if they didn't announce Sting's retirement,
I mean for Darby.
Yeah.
They can wait until the night. They can wait till after the show after Sting retires to unveil the devil. And I like your idea. Have it be the pillars.
And Britt Baker, because she feels like she should be a pillar.
Then I put Britt in Wardlow's spot. Then.
Well, no, there's 4 of them. I wouldn't have Darby in. I don't think he fits.
I think he fits.
I would go Sammy.
Because once Sting is gone, Darby gets boring.
Yeah. I mean,
he's a horrible wrestler. What else are you going to do with him?
I would go Wardlow because was MJF's bodyguard. They have history. I'd go Sammy. I'd go Baker, and I'd go Jack Perry. And they're all jealous. They're all jealous because they all got pilled as the future, but only MJF is doing it.
I'm going to be really disappointed if it's Adam Cole.
Me too. I think
if they weren't going to pull the trigger on Adam Cole a month ago, then they shouldn't do it now.
Well, I mean, you've got the Kingdom, MJF, and Cole to go against the Devils. I like it. But yeah.
Anyways, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about CM Punk. No, I am fine with Punk in this spot. What's this? Your number 3, right?
Yeah, I really went back and forth on my number 3, number 2.
Huge. Another best worst kept secret. Mm-hmm. Everybody knew it was coming, but it was amazing. This return was far superior to his WWE return.
Well, I mean, of course it would be. He was gone for 8 years. This was his first time back. In Chicago, everybody knew it was happening. And
I remember you asking me, does this count as a return? Because
or a debut.
Was it a debut? I count it as a return because this was his return to professional wrestling. This was his return. He has not been on a professional wrestling program other than WWE Backstage since Royal Rumble 2013.
That's correct.
13. Yeah,
I think so.
So no, sorry, 14.
I don't know. All those years I drank a lot. I don't know.
It was the year of 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 14. But so he hasn't been on a wrestling program in almost 10 years, and now he comes in, he returns to professional wrestling, to the program that is trying their damnedest to compete with the WWE. And it really makes sense. WWE is trying to, or AEW is trying to get they need their Hogan. You know what I mean? They need what WCW had in Hulk Hogan, AEW had CM Punk.
It makes me sad.
Did it work out like that in the end? No. But
it makes me sad to look back on.
They needed that guy.
Like, it makes me sad to look back on, because if you look at AEW's roster for that time period, they had Punk, Cody, Kenny, Jericho, the Young Bucks. Like, that's pretty solid to go head to head with WWE.
It's solid, but you could say the same thing as WCW had some great names too.
Yeah,
in
the same shit happened
in 1994, but they needed that name that was going to wow the world. And I'm sorry, but Lex Luger just wasn't going to be it.
Did WCW really have great names in 1994?
They had great wrestlers. They just weren't looking to have a wrestling program.
I would give you 1992. I don't know about 94.
How great would it be? I would have done a little bit different with CM Punk's return. I would have had a parade where you sit in the back of a convertible.
Oh my God. I'm moving on to my number 2.
Number 3 works. I'm okay with this.
I went back and forth with these two, and I think you can flip a coin depending on the day. My number 2 is the return of the Hardy Boys, the WWE at WrestleMania.
How did I fucking forget about this? This could be number 1. This could easily be number 1. This is fantastic. I don't know. Now, if this was my list and I sat down and was doing the proper research, I'm sure that it would have came to my mind.
I actually almost forgot about it too until I started. I was like, holy fuck, I did forget this one.
This is one of the greatest returns in the history of the WWE. This is because we're talking about the best, worst kept secrets. This was a great secret. Nobody saw this shit coming. Nobody.
There was like a little bit of rumors the week of, but the Hardy Boys also went into this weekend being the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions.
Yeah.
Right? And they worked the Young Bucks in a ladder match the night before WrestleMania.
Yes.
And they told the Bucks. And that's all the people that knew.
When that music hit, man, that crowd.
Find me a louder pop in the WWE. Maybe Austin coming out that one Raw.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Now the man that you're leaving off the list had a huge pop for his return, but not as big as the Hardys. The Hardys.
I think I know what I left off that you're going to be disappointed with, and after I tell you,
we'll discuss it.
I want to guess it after my number 1 here. Is my number 1 obvious?
I now know, not really, because there's about 3 that I'm wondering why didn't make your list. There's a few missing. So tell me your number 1. We're gonna do some honorable mentions.
Well, I don't know. I guess I'm just gonna say a couple words then. You think you know me?
Oh fuck! Of course. Yes. It's obvious. This is number 1.
Edge's return at the Royal Rumble is the greatest.
Yes. This would be my number 1 as well.
Yes. It wasn't even a question when I decided to do this list. Edge's return at the Royal Rumble was always going to be my number 1. I think it's one of the most beautiful moments in the history of professional wrestling.
Couldn't agree with you more. I was thrown off because when you're saying to me, is it obvious? But in my brain, I'm thinking, where's this guy? Where's this guy? Where's this guy? So I was a little convoluted. This is 100% the correct answer.
Is the one that I left off that you're looking for Triple H at Madison Square Garden?
100% it is.
It was
and that's number 3 for me.
It was in serious contention for my number 7, I will tell you that.
Number three for myself. If I'm doing this list, it's my number three. I think it's one of the greatest pops
when he spit the water 100%. But other than the entrance, it wasn't great. He cut a mediocre promo that he flumbered over his words, and he hit a pedigree on Kurt Angle.
It's one of those rare. Everybody wants the surprise, right? They didn't do the surprise with Triple H. They
did it the right way. That the U2 videos,
yeah. It was beautiful. They're showing his comeback. They're showing his work from coming back from that injury to Beautiful Day, and then when he finally shows up in Madison Square Garden, it's an amazing thing. Now, am I being a little biased because I am truly a huge Triple H mark? I do put Triple H in my top 3 favorite wrestlers of all time.
Yeah.
He is one of my favorite professional wrestlers. So am I a little biased? Probably. I'm just as biased for Triple H as I am with you and CM Punk. But see, one of us can admit when we're fucking biased.
I call Punk out when I think he's being a dick. I can take my blinders off.
I'll call out Triple H when I think he's, when he shouldn't win. When he shouldn't win at WrestleMania 19.
When he's burying the entire roster in the year 2002 to 2006.
But come the fuck on. No, I'm not going to admit that. However, Triple H is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and this isn't a time where I think people.
He's a top 20. I would say for sure.
I don't think people understood that people actually did respect him and did love him and did want to see him back. And when he came back and got that fucking pop, when just like you said, when he blew the water out, and like that was massive. At that point in time, I want to say it was the second biggest pop in history.
I dare anybody to find a better wrestler in the year 2000, the middle of 2000 to when he tore his quad. I dare anybody to find a better wrestler in the world than Triple H during that time period.
100%.
He was the best. He was the best wrestler in the world at that point.
The other one that confused me that you didn't have on the list, I was very surprised to not see Brock Lesnar on your list.
His return was cool, but it wasn't as cool as the other ones. It was just, here's Brock, his music hit, Cena had a what the fuck, and then he F5'd him. It was cool.
We discussed the Raw after WrestleManias earlier. It was one of those Raw after WrestleManias that actually connected, that actually hit.
I just don't think it was as good as the rest of them that were on my list. It didn't have the Bray Wyatt creativeness to it. It didn't have the heart of Cody, the emotion of Flair and Punk, the moment of the Hardys, and I just didn't think it was as good as the rest of them. So Brock, you didn't like, I didn't have on. Triple H, you didn't like, I didn't have on. Anything else that you would have had on your list that's a little bit different?
Those are my 2 big ones.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few that I wish could be on that wouldn't make it. For example, and I discussed this with you off air once. There was with potential. Shawn Michaels, by all means, should be on this list. He should have been one of the greatest returns of all time, but he fucked it up by showing up 600 times in his fucking hiatus.
Well, you know what I mean? His big return, he came back to join the NWO. That was his permanent return.
That was garbage, though.
Mm-hmm. I have a couple really cool honorable mentions.
If he would have waited and made that big return right before SummerSlam that year and did you know what I mean? Hey, if that was his return, we'd be talking about that today.
I have a couple cool ones. A big one that was hard to leave off was the return of The Rock when he hosted WrestleMania. That moment where the lights went out, I thought that was done really well. That was a big pop as well. My number one very special moment with Edge making his return. Can't forget about Christian making his return at a Royal Rumble.
Sure.
Not list worthy, but has to be talked about. Fucking Becky Lynch.
She had
Becky Lynch at SummerSlam had a great return.
Yep. Did you consider the return of the NWO?
No.
No.
Didn't even make an honorable mention.
Okay.
One that was very hard to leave off my list, when Chris Jericho returned to break the code. Those were cool.
He had a lot of really cool returns. I don't know if that one's the one that makes my. It's the
his Royal Rumble return was really good too. When he was the surprise number 2 entrance with Ziggler.
The lead up to Codebreaker Jericho, I think
that was the one.
One of my favorites.
Can you break the code?
Was that the one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he came back with Randy Orton.
Yeah, that one's great.
I could have picked 100 from this guy, but I went with 2 of them. With the Undertaker, when he returned as the American Badass.
Okay.
And WrestleMania
it was
20.
Huge, but I'm glad it didn't make your list.
No,
WrestleMania 20, I think, is big.
WrestleMania 20 was cool. And one that I really wish I could put on my list just for my love of this family, but the moment just doesn't hold up compared to the rest of them. I've got Kevin Von Erich returning when he showed up at Impact Wrestling with his sons and he put the claw on DJZ and the place went nuts in Dallas. I love that moment. I love the Von Erich. So I got one that shouldn't be on the list, but is a definite honorable mention for myself. I want to go to 2010 and do the return of Bret Hart. Yeah, I just
when Bret goes on Raw,
I just thought it was a letdown.
Why was it a letdown to you? You know, they come out, they do the face-to-face with him and Sean for the first time, and they do. I think it was big.
I don't know. I think it's because it was in Dayton, Ohio, and like the crowd just wasn't what I think they should have been.
Here, okay, so do you think it was in Dayton, Ohio, only because they thought they had to compete with Hogan going to Impact?
I think so. I think that had a big part to do with it.
Me too.
That's it though. That's all I got.
Yeah, I can't think of any more that. I'm not gonna lie. I do think that Triple H. I'll concede to your argument on Brock, but I do think Triple H should have been on your list.
Watch the Flair moment back and tell me.
I will.
I'm very interested. And don't fucking pull a Joe and Dean Malenko against the Bulldogs with me. You actually watch this one, all right?
I do. I will, because I love me some that era of WCW. Loving that shit. I love me some Martin Anderson. You're telling me to watch some Martin Anderson. I will go back and watch some Martin Anderson. Love
Great
that.
Promo.
Arn, can we be honest, man? You want to talk about the Horsemen, right?
Yeah. Greatest horseman of all time.
When you think, oh, fuck yourself. When you're thinking about the Horsemen, though, you think of,
Arn
Tully, Tully's the playboy and Rick's the mic guy, and Arn was the worker. But Arn could cut a promo. People forget that.
I looked at it as Tully as the worker, Arn as the mic guy, and Flair as Flair. I also looked at it as Tully was the guy that got replaced by Paul Roma. Thank you, Sean Gibson, for that one.
Fuck you, and fuck you, Sean Gibson.
Thank you, Sean Gibson, for that one.
You're siding with the Steel. You're siding with the Steelers fan. That's all.
His judgment in football might be awful, but his judgment in Horseman is fucking bang on. Speaking of that, Barry Wrestling.
If he booked the Horseman, he'd have Ric Flair against a mystery opponent every second week. Love you, Sean.
Well, we will see a mystery opponent in 2 days as this is coming out.
Jesse V
against Clutch Jesse V. Double show, Barry Wrestling, something Christmas. I can't remember.
I'm so excited.
Wrestleful Life is the main show, and Holiday Slam. Also, if anyone's dragged on and listened to us for this long, I want to give a little shout out too. I actually was a guest on a podcast, believe it or not, which was cool. The podcast is called HCW. Let me just pull up the proper the HCW show. They had me on to review the last Barry Wrestling show. Great lad there over in the UK.
Can you please tell the story of how you got connected with these guys? Because I think it's hilarious and I love it so much.
Mike Jeffries put me in contact with these guys. Great play-by-play guy for Barry Wrestling. He got in contact with them because they do a wonderful podcast in the United Kingdom where they review the independent wrestling scene. And I guess there's a place in the United Kingdom called Barrie. And he looked at the match card on IWTV and saw Von Vertigo was on the card. Well, Von Vertigo does a fair amount of work over in the UK.
Von is very well known in the UK and Europe.
Correct.
Yes.
So he started watching it, and about halfway through the show, he realized that it was Barrie Canada, not Barrie United Kingdom, and he loved the show and thought it was great. And he's a fan of Barrie wrestling, and
absolutely
he does reviews for every Barrie wrestling show now, and I highly recommend checking them out. The HCW show, fantastic people.
And I highly recommend you checking out Barrie Wrestling. It's on IWTV, and they're going live this coming Saturday out of the Ferris Street Church, Ferris Lane Church.
FLCC Arena. Apparently, we don't say the church word.
It's a fucking church. Did I say fucking church?
It's our show.
Yeah, it's our show. Listen, Barrie Wrestling is they're on a. I was gonna say they're on a trend. They're on a warpath, but they have been for fucking years. Here's what I'm so excited for. 2 years ago, they did this doubleheader where they put two shows in one day, and it's one of my favorite wrestling shows that I've ever attended in general. It was such a special day. Not only because some of my closest friends in the world came all the way to visit me that day and surprise me, but it was a tremendous show. We got to be involved in an amazing match with Corey Stone and Holden Albright. But also, I saw one of my favorite matches I've ever watched live, and that was the Jingle All the Way Death Match, which we're going to see revived this Saturday. We're going to get a Jingle All the Way Death Match, but this time it's a tag team match, and we're getting Puff and Pretty Ricky, who were the two guys in the first one. We're getting Puff and Pretty Ricky versus the Royal Family, and we don't know who that is. That could be Kyle Boone and Grizz. That could be Grizz and fucking what's his name? Musso, Anthony Musso. It could be fucking Musso and Kyle Boone. We don't know. Hell, it could involve Shiloh. We don't know. It could be any of those members of the group against Puff and Pretty Ricky for the Barrie. What's the name of the titles?
400 North.
400 North titles. That's their tag team championships. I'm so fucking excited. The first one was amazing. This one's going to be just as good. These charity shows are one of my favorite things Barrie Wrestling does. Please come out, support Barrie Wrestling, support your community, support independent wrestling. If you can't make it out to the show, go to independentwrestling.tv, get the IWTV app, watch Barrie Wrestling. This is how you can support your local wrestling shows. Or if you live in the UK, you can still support our local wrestling shows. It's a great way to get this amazing independent stuff out there.
Yeah, we're over in the UK now. So Sean Gibson, you better start booking the plane tickets because Barrie Wrestling, we're going over the pond, baby.
I mean, are you famous in Mexico?
Wow.
No, but continuing my thought on supporting things local and supporting things you love. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, if you haven't hit that like button, if you haven't shared this to every fucking friend you have, please do so. We're getting so close to the end of the year. We didn't reach our goal this year, Tyler. We didn't do it. Let's call a spade a spade. We didn't get where we wanted to be by the end of 2023. But I know we're going to do it in 2024. 2024 is going to be a huge year for us. In order to get there, we need you to hit those subscribe buttons on YouTube. We need you to hit those like buttons. We need to hit those rate buttons on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. We need you to hit those buttons. We need you to tell all your friends about this. We might have some contests coming up. We have a lot of giveaways, don't we, bud? We have a lot of things to give away. So we're going to take that shit. We're going to give it all away in 2024. But you need to tell your friends about us to get these giveaways. We're gonna put our minds together. We're gonna think of ways for you to get your hands on this amazing merchandise that we have, that you don't have, that you want, but you need to help us. Spread the word of Count It Out all over the place. in Barrie, in Newmarket, in Ontario, in Canada, in the UK, in Mexico. No, Mexico already knows we're awesome. All over the fucking world, we need to be spread. I want to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube next year. Is that stupid? Is that silly? Maybe, but that's what I want. That's what we're gonna get. We're about to give away a bunch of shit to get there. I don't know where else I can go with this. Let's go home.
Sorry, I just wanted to do it.
I hate you so much. You know that the mic never fucking catches you when you do that. You hit this register like it's like a dog whistle. It's right. Like you can't that like nobody can hear you when you say it. Nobody knows what you're doing.
Well, goddamn.
On behalf of getting so close to the end of the year, we're going to have our end of the year show coming up really close, and we're going to break down all of 2023. This is one of the last shows that is not a year-end show. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you for sticking by us. I wanted to be home by 1 o'clock in the morning, and that's not happening. So we're gonna call it. We're gonna call it in the ring. We're gonna call it quits. I'm gonna tap out.
Take it home.
You motherfucker. You've been counted out.
Cheers.